The Supreme Court must never be viewed as a partisan institution. The justices on the Supreme Court do not sit on opposite sides of an aisle. They do not caucus in separate rooms. If confirmed to the Supreme Court, I would be part of a team of 9, committed to deciding cases according to the Constitution and laws of the United States. I would always strive to be a team player on the team of 9.
There we have it. Big news yesterday. Good morning, Kevin Miller from Washington, D.C., living the dream with you from your house to the White House all this week, taking your phone calls on a contentious, historic hearing yesterday, and I'm sure it'll be today. Here's the other side of the line of scrimmage.
It's okay to pick a Democratic staff member of this committee, but it's not okay to pick somebody who's been a lifelong Republican. People see through this. You had a chance, and you lost. If you want to pick judges from your way of thinking, then you better win an election.
And there we have it. Your thoughts on the Judge Kavanaugh confirmation hearings, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Here's what Condoleezza Rice had to say.
I am so honored to introduce Brett Kavanaugh for these hearings. He will be an outstanding Supreme Court justice. His intellect is unquestioned. His judgment is highly regarded. And I can personally attest to his character and integrity as a colleague.
And there we have it. Two sides of the line of scrimmage, one playing within the rules, the other not obeying the rules at all.
The late Senator Kennedy of Massachusetts called these hearings a Supreme Court nominee's, quote, job interview with the American people. And by that standard, the nominee before us is coming into his job interview with more than 90% of his background hidden.
And there we have Kamala Harris, possibly the Democratic nominee in 2020. It was like an audition for the Democrats. You had Tricky Dick Durbin, you had Kamala, you had others, everybody running around trying to make their point. And it's sad, my friends, that the Republicans, for no better reason, play by the rules. What is it? Kagan, Sotomayor, they all got 90, 95 votes. But when it comes to a conservative, when it comes to, and I'm tired of hearing about Merrick Garland, are you? I'm really tired of hearing about Merrick Garland. Right? So what? He lost. He's a loser. Didn't happen for you. Just like us with McCain and with Mitt Romney. And by the way, we missed it last week where people turned John McCain's funeral into let's bash Donald Trump. Poor President Trump getting hit by this goofy book from Bob Woodward. You've got Justice Kavanaugh taking it because he is right over the mark, right over the territory. What do they tell you in the military? That you take the most flack when you're right over the target? Let's go to Tom in Nampa on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. The Democratic Party, in an organized attempt to disrupt these hearings, has basically turned representative democracy into nothing more than a shouting match. They've just set the clock back how many thousand years? Whichever side argued loudest. Not the best, but loudest. What's next? Are we going to decide issues by how many fists we have, how many clubs? Well, we've seen the Antifada, so I guess so. This is not representative democracy.
It's embarrassing.
This is thugocracy. Why isn't anybody objecting? They're not even embarrassed or ashamed of their actions. We won, and that's all that matters to us. You lied, you cheated, you stole.
Right, the ends justify the means with them. Right.
Yeah, every organization that's ever used that philosophy, bad things have occurred. How many? Are we going to have dead people in the street before somebody says this is wrong? I'm just wondering, how bad is it going to get? I'm old enough to remember the 68 riots in Chicago. Is that how we want to run things?
Well, I would agree with you, Tom. It seemed more like they were inciting a riot than trying to give this guy a fair shake.
Yeah, they have no arguments. so they just shout. They can't come up with a decent argument for somebody, and when that happens, they just scream racism. That's the default setting for the Democratic Party in this country. We win, you lose, that's all that matters to them. The guy we get in there, he may be vile. The Democrats have a very interesting relationship with Hollyweird. Hollyweird was all for Harvey Weinstein because he was a good liberal. He contributed to the Democratic Party. He may have had one or two picadillos, but when he stopped making good movies, or let me strike that, when he stopped making profitable movies, then he said, "Oh, we can turn on him now. He's not a moneymaker for us."
Tom, I appreciate the call. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great
Bye-bye.
call. Hey, have a seat here, Heidi.
Are you doing Facebook Live?
No, I'm not. We're on the air.
Hi, sweetheart. You look at my cool Vegas flashy sign. You
Well-
should be doing Facebook Live.
Look, Heidi Harris joining us here once again. How are you?
I love you, babe.
I love you.
do.
How you been?
I am fantastic. It is so good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, just holding down the fort. You know, I'm at another station now. You know, it's like, remember that movie Carrie? At the very end of the movie, the arm comes out of the ground?
Right.
That's me. Every time my detractors try to get me fired, somehow God just goes, "No, I don't think so. I got another plan for her."
Where are we at here? Are we the last of the Jedi Knights? You've lived that the past few years.
I have more lives than a cat, don't
Right.
I? It's like people run into me in the hallway. They're like, "Where are you now?" Which
Right.
is a logical question because I've been a couple places in the last couple of years. But you know, we've all been kicked around. Not so much you though, but you're.
Oh no,
super
no!
talented.
I've been kicked around. I've
Yeah.
been fired 5 times.
You have been?
Oh,
you
yeah.
got me beat. Okay.
Yeah,
But here's the thing: you have not arrived. There's nobody who hasn't been fired. Rush Limbaugh,
Right.
Sean Hannity, all these guys. We've all
Heidi
been
Harris.
fired. Heidi Harris.
We've
all been fired. So that's actually a badge of honor in radio.
I suppose.
If you haven't been fired, you're not doing your job because you're not speaking truth to power.
Sure, of course.
You're not ticking anybody off.
The mortgage company, the creditors never see it that way.
They don't, though. Isn't it odd? Oh, yeah.
Right.
So we could all we should write a whole book about talk show hosts and their financial travails behind
Right.
the scene.
Because you were right, and I was right. We're right, but here's your key.
Exactly.
Take your key card.
I tried to get a job at Trader Joe's, but they wouldn't hire me.
Why?
Well, you know, like that actor, that Cosby actor that got a job at Trader Joe's. Good for him. I know you heard what he said about
yeah.
where the work. I love the fact that he said there's dignity in any kind of work, and you saw that Tyler Perry wants to hire him.
Right.
I love Tyler Perry anyway, but how nice is that? What a classy guy to say,
wait,
hey, it's a job.
now wait a minute. Enough with the pop culture. Let's talk about the hits.
Let's talk about the okay.
You're so mainstream. Let's go back to the niche that is this show.
The niche, okay.
What'd you make of the Kavanaugh stuff?
Wow, what a circus. I was watching a little earlier this morning, and what a circus. These
Right.
people just keep interrupting. And here's the thing. There was somebody who actually protested this morning while he was in the middle of talking about the fact that he went against the government in the case of somebody who plotted to attack us on 9/11. Okay, so that's a guy everybody wants to see fry.
Right.
All right. And yet he ruled against the government because the government hadn't done something correctly. And yet even that was not enough for the protester who stood up and started yelling. And every 5 seconds or so, somebody pops up and starts yelling. What are they accomplishing? Nothing. Here's the thing. He's going to be confirmed. And thank you, Harry Reid. He's finally done one thing.
Sure.
After all these years, Harry Reid is, as you know, the one who put the thing in place where they can just do it with a simple majority, which they have right now. And that's a big deal. So he's going to be confirmed. So all this gnashing of teeth is all for naught on the left.
Not all for naught. Here we are in Washington, D.C., of the West of the Great River.
Yes.
The forgotten people.
I know, they're forgotten. The people of the land. You know, morons. That's a Blazing Saddles joke, people.
Sure.
Come on, everybody.
Well,
relax.
let's talk a little bit about Nike.
Oh, let's talk
By
about
the way,
Nike.
I love
just
that.
do it.
I just love the fact that I could just grab you. You're getting ready for your show and put you on the spot.
Because I love you.
I
James
love you.
Woods, did
Yeah.
you see James Woods? He tweeted, just sold it. He has stock in Nike. And here's the thing. I actually saw a story in the Huffington Post today on Twitter. Yes, it passed through my feed somehow. Huffington Post about how it's racist to go against Kaepernick. Well, wait a minute. We loved Tiger Woods when he was wearing the Nike thing. And isn't he still a Nike guy? It's not about color, folks. It's
Right.
about Kaepernick.
Right.
What a stupid thing to say.
Right.
Nike did more from Tiger Woods than probably anybody else. We all loved him. Everybody loves Tiger. Well, loved him then. But still, not a racist thing. Come
Sure.
on. You're just smirking at me because you just love it. You just pull my string and I go. That's what you love about me.
Well, it's so much fun to see you in person.
I know. It's fun to see you, too.
You know, when we take a look at this event, 65 talk show hosts
I
across
know.
the country, a lot of hot air.
A lot of
hot
air in
air,
this building.
right?
Yeah.
A little inside skinny. It's funny where you see all the fiefdoms and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And you and I have been at this for many, many years. It's just
Where's your sign? Where's your roll-up sign?
no sign today.
Everybody has their roll-up sign. It's so obnoxious.
Right.
Like I'm going to haul mine from Vegas.
Right.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm with you this
And nobody
year.
sees you here. That's
Right.
the thing. We all are talking in various booths that are literally separated by curtains. Okay.
They're a little bigger this year.
Did you walk your people around with the video or something?
Not yet.
Usually you're like the king of video. I thought
Right.
of you this morning. I was walking around D.C. shooting some video of the Capitol looking like a drenched rat in this humidity.
Yes.
But I did it. I put myself out there for my people. But here's the thing. You're usually the king of videos and selfies and
Right.
Facebook Live and stuff.
I'm about the people this year.
You're all
Not about
the
me.
Oh, okay.
I've had an epiphany.
Okay,
It's
got
all
it.
about the people.
But I'm going to walk around and show everybody what goes on today. You got some good guests planned, I'm sure, and have already done so.
Right, apparently, because I've got you on.
Well, there you go. What else do you need? Who needs
Exactly.
other folks if you can have me, right?
Exactly.
Yes, it's fun to talk to you, though. I always love it.
It is. Heidi Harris, if people want to get a hold of you, your books,
HeidiHarris.com.
on Facebook, they can
HeidiHarris.com.
watch your little
Heidi
sign
Harris
there.
show. I have my little flashy Vegas sign. You guys can't see it in Idaho, but it is a really cute little Vegas sign that I paid way too much money for in a gift shop in Vegas. But
That's a lot of useful information this morning.
you know what? It's cute because my guests can find me. Nobody else has this. You may have the big roll-up sign, some of these hosts, but they don't have this.
I like it where my guests can't find me.
Or they show up late and you have to go to break. You're like, okay, so sorry.
Right.
Yes.
On a serious note, where are we in the Trump media world of talk radio here? It seems that we're back a little, but there's the war against what we do continues. You know that
It is
firsthand.
an alternative universe, right?
Yeah.
It is scary because if you listen, I was a Trump supporter. He wasn't my initial pick, but once he became the nominee, I was on board. And I keep telling people, I don't understand these never Trumpers. Okay, I know there are folks who love him, no matter what you say. If you say anything bad about him, you're a horrible person. That's one thing. The never Trumpers, I don't understand. Because throughout human history, there have been bad leaders. I mean, look at the Old Testament. King after king after king after king did worse than the evil in the sight of the Lord and da-da-da-da-da. You didn't hear Jesus going, it'd be great if you could follow me, but, Herod's in office.
Right.
Or Nero's in office or whoever. And you can't really follow me because you got a bad leader. We've had bad leadership throughout human history. Even if you don't like Trump, get on board and think long game. Look at Kavanaugh. That's because of Trump. Jeb Bush was not going to do it. He wasn't going to get past Hillary. So now we got Kavanaugh only because of Trump. This is a huge deal. So think long game, people. Think long game. And I know that there are some Republicans, certainly my Dean Heller in Nevada, is on the barbecue because he's been pro-Trump, anti-Trump, da-da-da-da-da. And I tell him, listen, I'm not endorsing a candidate, but think long game because we're going to have probably at least one more Supreme Court pick during a Trump administration.
Isn't that amazing?
It
that
is
possibility?
amazing. And here's the thing. The left didn't think about this. The left never thought it could happen. If they could have, they would have gone to one of these lefty justices and gone, hey, you might want to resign now while
Right.
Obama's still. They didn't think about it because they were sure Hillary was going to win. They never saw Trump coming.
Yep. Thank you, Lars. We'll have you on in a minute.
You want Lars Larson on?
well-
I'm just kidding. Lars, come here. I've been kicked out of better joints than this.
Thank you,
Lars,
Heidi.
come here. Kevin's going to upgrade his guest, so please sit down. All right. Love you, Kevin.
Love you, Heidi. Thank you.
Yeah, but you don't have my flashy sign.
No.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you for saving the segment.
No, I love you, babe.
You're going to kill me, right?
My man, Lars, I'm your biggest fan. I love you.
I was upstairs, I was prepping, and I was watching the hearings at the same
Wait
time.
a minute. The hearings are being on with Kevin Miller.
I know.
I could
this
see that.
is the number one hearing
Right.
that anyone needs to do.
Right.
How are you?
I'm good. If you only have it for a few minutes, I totally understand. I know you got
No,
things
I've
to
got
do.
plenty of time because I'm late.
No, I'm with you. So here we are today.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the state of the Republic?
The state of the Republic with regard to the issue we're here for, immigration, or the state of the Republic after yesterday's shameful performance of a lot of liberals, including not just the crazies in the audience. You expect crazies in the audience at
Sure.
a hearing. But to have members of Congress like Kamala Harris who can't, frankly, keep her mouth shut.
Right.
If you're the chairman of a committee, Grassley sits down, welcomes everyone, and starts into his first sentence. And before he's finished his first sentence, Kamala Harris from California interrupts him, interrupts again. He's interrupted by other members. Look, I don't like to always stand on ceremony. I think ceremony is important in some cases, but how about just being respectful? We know that the Democrats and the liberals are in a panic right now, and here's why, and from my point of view only. So you can make up your own mind And your audience certainly can make up their own mind. I mean, we're conservative talkers. We don't tell the audience what to think. They're smart enough. Now, with liberals, you have to tell them what to think, and then they follow along like lemmings. And nobody's allowed to step out of line.
Sure.
You try and find a pro-life Democrat speaking at any Democrat event. They don't allow it. Conservatives, we say, well, we're sad that you're pro-abortion or so-called pro-choice, if you will, but you're allowed to make up your own mind, and then if you can persuade them. But we're in trouble, or they realize they're in trouble, because here's what's happening. The laws of this country are supposed to be made by the Congress. That's not Lars Larson speaking. That's the Constitution's directive. The laws come from the Congress. The courts are there to see that the laws are enforced, and in the case of the Supreme Court, decide whether or not there's a constitutional issue with a particular law. We've had laws before that were unconstitutional, and the Supreme Court rules on that. But the Supreme Court is not supposed to legislate, and the Congress is supposed to legislate. Well, a lot of our lawmakers, including some Republicans, have decided we don't much like making laws because when we take a position on something, that puts our office in danger. So we'll leave the legislating up to the bench. Well, that doesn't work well for me. I want the people's representatives to decide what the laws are. If you don't like a law, get it changed. The Supreme Court is about to have Judge Kavanaugh added to the bench. Donald Trump may even get another pick this term. It depends on what happens with other members of the court. But if he gets a second term, he'll certainly get another pick. And at that point, the game is over for the Democrats. This game where they've let the courts make laws that the people won't make. Let me give an example. No matter how you feel about gay marriage, same-sex marriage, it was put to a vote in 30 states, and 30 states said no.
Right.
And they couldn't get, and the Congress had actually passed the Defense of Marriage Act, signed into law by our friend, the horny hick from Arkansas, who couldn't keep his hand.
The horny hick.
Couldn't keep his eyes off Ariana Grande at Aretha Franklin's funeral. He's the guy who signed Defense of Marriage. Now,
right.
Do Americans believe in traditional marriage? Yeah. If you wanted to change the law, you take it to the Congress. They couldn't get it from the Congress. They couldn't get it from the state legislature, so they said, we'll have the Supreme Court find a right to marriage in the Constitution. It's not there. The word marriage is not in the Constitution, but they managed to derive it the same way they derived a right to abortion in the Constitution. So they're going to lose that. And when they lose that, they've lost the whole game. They can't get think about all the issues that we talk about and we worry about. We worry about illegal aliens and about the liberalization of America's immigration laws, and yet we are not seeing dramatic liberalization of the laws. We worry about gun control. 8 years we had a president who vowed to get gun control in Barack Obama. Did we get a single additional significant gun control law? No. We saw all 50 states and the District of Columbia, where we're sitting right now, honor concealed carry. They didn't do that 20 or 30 years ago. They do today.
Thanks to the Supreme Court.
Well, yes, because Heller established that. But remember, in each of the states, concealed carry came about by either a vote of the people or an act of the legislature. To me, that's the way to change laws. You want a law that allows concealed carry in your state? Pass the law through the legislature. Don't go to the courts and have the courts impose it. We don't ask for that. The Democrats do. And they're about to lose their biggest asset. And I think they know they've already lost it. Kavanaugh is going to be confirmed. And when that happens, then if they can't get it through the legislature and they can't get it through the courts, and now they can't get it through the Congress, and now they can't get it through the courts, where are they going to get these crazy changes to turn America into the socialist heaven of Ocasio-Cortez, or this new young lady from Massachusetts?
Yeah.
Alyssa, what's her last name?
Exactly. Our great friend Lars Larson. I know you're busy. I'm going to get you.
I'm not too busy for you, Kevin. I'm never too busy for you.
I appreciate that, sir.
I'm just late.
No. We've moved on from that, sir. Lars, a couple other ones. Just hot buttons. Nike. Your backyard.
Now, let's set aside the argument I'm going to hear from a lot of my listeners. I'm sure you've heard from your listeners who say, well, they have a right to do this. They're a private company. That's not the issue. There's a right to do a lot of things, but whether or not it's the right thing to do is entirely different. I could go out every night, if I could come home every night from my job and get drunk as a skunk as long as I show up at work the next day. Is that the right thing to do? No. Do I have a right to do it? Sure. Nike has a right to make an endorsement deal with anybody they want. When he was alive, they probably could have had Saddam Hussein. They could have had Osama bin Laden. Instead, they've chosen somebody not quite as bad as those two guys in Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick, who failed at sports. And remember one key thing, he was benched before he started his protests. In some ways, I have to admire his marketing ability, although that's the only thing I'd admire about him. But then again, Hitler was a great marketer as well. Colin, and I know they're going to say you're comparing
Lars
Colin
Larson's
Kaepernick.
in rare form already.
But when you failed at sports,
sure,
you're on the bench. You have no prospects. And you say, what can I do? If you really wanted to think about this in conspiratorial terms, you could say, I'm going to take on a social cause. I'm going to use my job with the NFL, with an NFL team, as the platform to launch it from, which he had no right to do. No employee who works for a company has a right to use that company as a platform to launch a personal message. But he did it, and he got away with it because everyone was afraid to criticize, not everyone, but a lot of people, not you and I, but a lot of folks were afraid to criticize Kaepernick for doing this. And the team was afraid to do anything, and the league was afraid, still is afraid, to take a strong stance on this, to say, you play football for us. If you want to have your own social cause outside of work, go for it. Every employer probably does that. Says, you want to go out and march with the Black Lives Matter group, or you want to march with the Sierra Club, go for it, but do it on your own time and your own dime. Well, what's happened now? Nike has decided to honor this guy by saying, be somebody even if you have to sacrifice everything. He hasn't sacrificed anything.
Right.
And why? He didn't have anything. He was a washed-up quarterback with no prospects for getting traded to anyone. And now he has a big, I don't know, do they have a number yet on the contract, how much he's getting paid to be the face? There have been people who have suggested that there are a lot of other people like Pat Tillman who really did sacrifice everything.
Lars Larson.
And not Colin Kaepernick.
The big national show, the Northwest Show, tonight at 6 on KIDO Talk Radio from D.C. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And joined by our great friend Dan Stein, president of FAIR. Good morning.
Great to be here, Kevin. See you in person.
Great to have you on the program. We have you on quite a bit from Idaho, and here we are in Washington, D.C., holding their feet to the fire. Thank you for all you do. I know it's not easy.
Well, you look even better in person than you look on the radio, Kevin.
I don't think I was talking about looking at me.
Yeah, you look great, and I'm glad to see you, and happy you're here. And you know what? It's been a big, 18 months now. Trump administration has done some major pushback on what Obama did to destroy immigration controls. Trump people have fixed a lot of loopholes, accelerated processing, stopped the fraud, stopped the abuse, worked to improve asylum processing so it's not gimmicked like crazy, cut refugee admissions down to something that makes a little more sense for the country, trying to work on secure ID, E-Verify. The big problem has not been in the administration. It's been Congress, right?
Sure.
Trump made a lot of important promises to the American people in this campaign, right? Build a wall, really stop illegal immigration cold. Congress, Koch brothers, big ag, big business, Wall Street, fund the party, undercut what the Congress is trying to do. And then, of course, the left, radical left, they don't want to cooperate with Trump on anything. What do you get? The frustrating gridlock that Trump, hopefully, we all thought was going to try to mow down. Not so easy, right?
Indeed. When we talk about big ag, obviously in Idaho, big ag runs the state.
Yeah.
And they talk about they want immigration reform, the farmers, the dairy people, and all these things. Your thoughts on that, the other side of the argument?
I think the American people ought to be aware of the Farm Bureau and the Western growers' role in sabotaging Trump's immigration plans, because it seems like, unlike a lot of the farm community, which is on board immigration control and E-Verify and other programs to ensure only legal workers are taking American jobs, the Western growers have been a raspberry seed in our wisdom tooth for some period of time, but folks don't know. They were holding up Trump's immigration bill in the House. And even though efforts have been made to give them a much broader guest worker program, it's never, too much is never enough, Kevin. They're willing to sabotage the mandatory E-Verify program to you because they want to use illegal labor. And we've got a major ad campaign going in the next few days, where we're asking folks in the farm community to push back against the Farm Bureau's opposition to E-Verify. We think a lot of Americans don't, even in the farm communities, don't realize the positions that the Western growers and the Farm Bureau have taken that we feel is in opposition to where even most farmers are on this issue. Because let's face it, if all the farmers have to use E-Verify, everybody's in the same boat, you got to pay the same price for labor, and there's no reason why Americans can't do these jobs if you pay more. I understand that it's going to take some transition, but the country's paying a huge price for the chaos of illegal immigration, and the farm community plays a certain role in providing a stepping stone to people coming in illegally. And we know that most farmers are fine, patriotic Americans and want to do the right thing.
Sure.
But need to find a business model that accommodates the idea that a country should do its own work and that you can get an American to do anything as long as you pay the kind of wages that make sense.
On one hand, Dan, you pointed out the issue with the Western farmers. On the other hand, then you have the Chamber of Commerce Club.
Well, then you got
our
Wall
old
Street,
friends,
right? Anytime they see, look at what Trump is doing. Strong economy, African American, Hispanic American unemployment, lowest levels in recorded history. Wages are beginning to go up a little, and then Wall Street starts hounding, hey, we got to have more immigrants, more immigrants, more immigrants. Trump has tightened up on these abusive foreign labor programs like the H-1B visa and the L visa, and they're all screaming and hollering, oh, you're killing our business. Why? Well, we got to pay more for labor. I'm sorry. I thought wages needed to go up. For wages to go up, immigration has to fall. And then we have another big ad campaign out right now going on all over the country. For wages to rise, immigration must fall. The only way you're going to see Americans get any kind of shot at living the American dream is if immigration is reduced for a sustained period of time. And the only way we can overcome the opposition of the cheap labor organizations is by getting grassroots support. And that's where talk radio comes in. Online ads, digital, and everything else. The public is with us, and they're engaged.
And that's the important part. You can't do this without the support of the public. Yet we're silenced by our friends in the mainstream media. All we've heard is the vilification of the Border Patrol people. You have the vilification of ICE. All these families, the propaganda there.
Well, to call them mainstream implies they actually represent the mainstream of opinion. In fact, I mean, just take a look at Europe. I mean, Angela Merkel made one mistake after another, flooded Europe with people from other parts of the world with some assimilation issues, to put it mildly and diplomatically.
Sure. And
you say, well, what does it take to get the elites to realize this is a problem? You see this major pushback on Trump for his immigration. Unforgivable, this idea that Trump doesn't buy into this anti-borders bigotry of trying to go to like one world government or whatever you want to call it. There is an agenda, really, that is anti-nationalist, anti-nation state, that wants to annihilate borders. George Soros has got his grip on the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is not the party it was 15, 20 years ago. They have moved radically to the left. And this part of the media that supports that is not mainstream. They're third stream, side stream, extreme stream.
Sure. But
I like that, the extreme stream media.
I love that. Dan Stein joining us from FAIR here on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. But Dan, when we take a look at, you have Kamala Harris and others, these may not be mainstream folks, but they're prominent within the Democratic Party and within the mainstream press. They get a lot of attention.
Well, because they're obnoxious and disliked.
Right.
And Kamala Harris is sort of picked up, I guess she went to the school of Sheila Jackson Lee, that obnoxiousness is apparently good copy, maybe inspired by the fact that Trump knows how to push back. But you know what? Kamala Harris is no Donald Trump. She just kind of comes across as, a pain in the neck and arrogant and hardly presidential timber. But the Democrats have a crisis of leadership. I mean, Obama left without any legacy in terms of leadership. They're groping for some kind of future voice. That future voice has not yet been tested in the mainstream of political debate and battle. And if those individuals like Cory Booker, like Kamala Harris, are so far out of the common sense core that makes up the American mind, the sort of middle of the road, average common sense of Americans, most Americans don't get an opportunity. We hear a lot of media discussion about these extreme lefties who are taking over and kicking out older extreme lefties, like this is big news. Okay, well, if the Democrats want to consume their own on the extreme left wing, well, that's interesting politically, like who cares, right? Who cares? But it's when you actually have to run major campaigns in districts that are swing states and purple, whatever you want to call them. No question the Democrats are trying to change the demographics in this country to try to win elections, and that's why they've lost their minds when it comes to immigration control. The policy positions that we support, FAIR supports, we believe most Americans overwhelmingly agree with. Okay?
Right.
And yet, here you have, for the first time, a political party Hillary Clinton campaigned on policy positions no Democrat in the history of the country has ever supported. No borders, anti-borders, no controls, let everybody run into the country, give an amnesty, let them bring all their relatives. This is unprecedented in history. She lost the election because of it. Reaction of the Democratic Party, you would think, Kevin, would be to tack back to the center. Okay, move back to where the center of the electorate is. But no, they just continue to move farther and farther off to the point where they fall off the end of the political earth. And Trump is handing the House Republicans everything they need to take control, to maintain control of the House on this issue, whether it's Molly Tibbet or, the crime issues, one issue after another. There's all kinds of political support for Trump's immigration position. But you got these Republicans in the House who are like, yeah, I don't know if we want to run on this issue. Then what happens? Blue wave. Okay? Look, FAIR's not a partisan organization, but let's be honest. The Democratic Party positions are overtly hostile at this juncture. Everything we believe, most Americans believe a country should do if it wants to be a sovereign state. And immigration needs to be a major part of this campaign because Republican voters, many independent voters, top of the issue. This is the top of the list, major issue. Okay? And so people want to run for Congress. They need to be talking about it.
Dan Stein from FAIR. We appreciate you, brother.
It's an honor to have you here, Kevin, in person. Always a pleasure to have you.
I know you're busy, so you have a great day.
Hey, take care.
Take care. Our great friend Dan Stein. Always appreciate his belief, his passion, and his generosity. Thank you, Dan.
Always a pleasure.
Take care. Okay, we will take your calls at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller with you here, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. We'll be here today and tomorrow broadcasting live from D.C. You're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning, blessed to be part of your day. Let's go to Tom in Nampa. Tom, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Yeah, boy, aren't those hearings really something else? I think one thing, this could become the Republicans' greatest advantage for keeping the Senate and their majority if they broadcast these over and over again because, I think there are about 5 Democrats that are really in pretty, dire straits in the re-election. I think it's in North Dakota, Idaho, Indiana, a couple others. But if they vote against Kavanaugh, given the kind of people that are getting up there and the crazies, they could very well lose their seats. So it really puts them in a sticky position that I'm kind of glad it's happened. Did you see when Feinstein, who is the ranking Democrat, spoke, she actually apologized for the outburst? Feinstein, liberal as she is, I'll at least give her this. She knows how to conduct herself in a civil manner. And as far as Kamala Harris, boy, she's the other senator who replaced Boxer in California. Wow, is she ever up? Do you know that the polls showed Feinstein within 2 points in California being defeated in this election? And there's no Republican on the ballot. It's the top 2 vote getters. And so that's just how far to the left California's gone. I'm glad I'm up here. Now, you said something you're tired of hearing about, bringing up Merrick Garland. Well, I think the Republicans should never did what they did because if the Democrats do take back the Senate, there's not going to be another court appointee of Trump's confirmed for the rest of his term. And I think it was a mistake that they did that. So why are you think that that's shouldn't bring that up? Because Scalia died in February. You pointed.
You know something? Because Mitch McConnell decided he wasn't going to entertain it, and those who have the power rule. And I would think that Harry Reid, if the situation, I'm just answering your question, Tom, if Harry Reid were in the same position, he'd do the same thing. And for me personally, Merrick Garland, loser. He didn't have an opportunity, too bad. Obama did so much to us, and that was a big victory, not to even give him an ounce of daylight. Because there is no fairness. For many times we've been... Well, let me just finish. 2 more sentences here, Tom. For many, many years, you have Republicans rolling over on Kagan, rolling over on Sotomayor, rolling over on Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and the libs show us how to fight. They don't hold back. It'll be 51-52, not 95-98. So long, Merritt. Too bad.
Yeah, but, I think he should have at least been allowed to have a hearings and a vote because he was qualified. Whether I liked him ideologically was another story. But he didn't even get a hearing, and this is one of the things that the Republicans complained about when they were in the minority. And it's a shame that court appointees are now not decided on their ability to do the job and their, legal expertise and their temperament, but strictly on partisan and ideological where they're at. And I just don't think that makes for good politics.
We can go back to who started it, and that was the Democrats with Justice Bork, Justice Thomas. The Republicans have been wimps so far, and this is the first time they're taking the gloves off. And I'll politely disagree with you and say it's a good thing. I mean, the shenanigans yesterday by the Democrats and their acolytes, that's embarrassing.
Oh, it's terrible. To think what they did up there. 70 people arrested in the galleries, and I think, that's Schumer. That's what we got to look forward to if he gets to be majority leader. And so, like I say, I think it'll work in the Republicans' favor. They could even pick up 2 or 3 seats, which would be fine with me. So, if Ginsburg dies, while Trump's still in there, they'll sit her corpse up there rather than let Trump have a chance to replace her.
It'll be Weekend at Bernie's. Tom, thank you for the call. Let's go to Pro-Life. Pro-Life, good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio, right in front of the people that just visited the White House, which is quite amazing. Pro-Life, good morning.
Yes, good morning. What I want to talk about is Nike.
Let me just say something to you, Pro-Life. Hey!
Hey, what?
Hey!
Hey, Kevin.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, having to do with those hearings, Mr. Grassley, what he should do is shut everybody down immediately. He should just be pointing his finger until everybody's out of the place, including some members of his committee, reduce their time of speaking, or he has to discipline his own committee. And he's not doing that. He's a big wimp. But anyway, Colin.
Well, what would you do if you were there?
Well, if I was the chairman of the committee,
what would you do to Camilla and the usual suspects? Patrick Leahy.
I'd say.
Would you ask him to go out? Would you ask him to go out in the parking lot?
I'd say, Mr. Leahy, Camilla, this is what's going to happen. If you speak out of turn, you have to raise your hand. We're going to follow the rules of the Senate, the parliamentary procedure. If you don't do that, your time's going to be reduced. Then you won't have any time. And then if you continue to speak, I'm going to have you put out of the room. Now, Mr. Grassley's not going to do that. He doesn't have the courage to do that, but that's what he should do. And but anyway, Colin Kaepernick is not the problem with Nike. The reason you should not patronize Nike is because they're for baby murder through abortion, sexual perversion, transgender promotion. They're socially so liberal that anybody that has any Christianity and faith in God should not buy their products.
Just don't do it. Pro-Life, thank you for the call. Let's go to Steve in Meridian with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, Kevin, good morning. Great show. Had a lot of strong and interesting contributors today. Love that you're in Washington, D.C. Hey, back here in Idaho, though, I can say that myself and 3,800 other people already and counting are going to boycott the Nike store at the Village. I feel bad for people who work there and such to be at the bottom end of such a company, but we can't, give our money to a company that fuels division in our country. And all I could say is one more comment in general. I love your show, and I like all the contributors, but if you go to any other show that's full of democratic liberal ideas and those kind of speakers, it seems like the two camps have their powwows of conversations and talking points and such, and they talk amongst themselves. And so ultimately, I can only encourage every listener here to remember the real key is not just to hype up your fellow brother Republican, if you will, or conservative, but rather to teach your kids diligently as well as reach those people that are kind of on the fence, because those are the people that are going to sway it one way or the other, because so many of us are already committed and have logical common sense running through our brain already and we're not going to be swayed to ridiculous new trends in our country. Conversely, a lot of people that are foolishly buying into the media's hype from L.A. and New York continue to buy into those lies, and they're not going to be persuaded. So how do we really change the flow? And the answer is prayer and meaningful action, and reach those people that are not yet committed one way or the other. And so I hope that is the case for the United States, that we don't get worse and worse and have this dramatic, embarrassing situation in our country, but rather what we used to be like, an inspiring nation who did things the right way.
Steve, great call. Got to run. Good morning, Dave.